Y'all, Wizard101 might have just confirmed something that people have been wanting for about 10 years now. And no, this is not an understatement. We need to talk about what Wiz posted on social media today. Yes, another teaser for Summer Update 2025. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so that y'all don't miss my daily coverage of these teasers the day that they drop. Now, what did Wiz have the audacity to post today? This is their post. It features a bunch of spells that we've only ever seen in the form of item cards in the past. And the caption is, "The Immortals will soon be on your side." Now, why do I say that this is something that people have been wanting for over 10 years? Well, when Aquila dropped, right, they pulled from Greek mythology to add a bunch of really cool fights, a lot of cool characters. And each of these new characters, one for every school, came with a triangle socket item card. They gave a super rare and unique spell that you could only get in the form of an item card. Tons of people have been wanting these to be trainable spells that do cool things that are updated for how the game works now. And y'all, I don't think they would have put this tweet out. I don't think they would have teased this unless they were adding these Aquila spells, not as item cards this update, but as trainable spells. A couple of days ago, when I was covering the challenge mode being added to Aquila teaser, I thought that the best case scenario was that we would get gear and it would drop, you know, like we would get new gear and the item cards would basically feature these Aquila cards. I thought that was the best case scenario. I think it's very likely that we're going to be getting spellaments for, you know, new PvE and PvP versions of all of these Aquila spells. These spells have not been updated in about 10 years. Now, let's talk about what would make this update a little bit different than previous updates, right? Every summer update, they've gotten into the habit of adding new lore spells for basically, you know, anywhere from every school to like at least 5 of them. 2 years ago, they added a new lore spell for every school, and they added it as like a drop to the Chrysalis Gold Key boss. About a year ago, they actually revisited older Gold Key bosses, like the ones in Mushu and Avalon, and added new spellments and dropped from them for, I want to say, like 5 schools. So it makes sense that this summer update, they were gonna add some spells. A lot of people were speculating they were just gonna do what they did last year, revisit some older Gold Key bosses and add some new lore spells there. But I actually think it's very likely that they're not gonna go the lore spells with school pips as a part of like the, you know, like the requirement to cast them. I think they're moving away from that this update and doing something special for Aquila. Why do I say that? Because the item cards that we've all, you know, we've only seen these as item cards since level 95. It's kind of crazy to talk about these again, but they've all been 9 pips. We've never seen school pip spells that are this high in pip cost and also use a school pip, right? The most we've seen is 4 pips and a school pip. There aren't even, to my knowledge, unless I'm like really blanking, I don't even think there's a 7 pip spell where I guess it's 5 pips and 1 school pip to cast. I think because school pips are so powerful in terms of what they can add to a spell, they've been avoiding that. If they make these Aquila spells, right, into things that are 7 pips and 2 school pips, that would be a lot of value in a spell. We're going to be looking at probably the most powerful spells in game. But even if they don't, I think depending on what they actually do to these spells, we could be seeing a whole set of useful spells on literally every school, pulling from ideas that people have literally wanted fleshed out for a year. Now, let's talk about the logistics of basically making some of these spells into, like, you know, trainable things. A lot of these spells do things that, you know, I guess they could work as a top path for no PvP, you know, purposes. But quite a few of them do things that are based on more or less legacy mechanics. So what I think will probably happen is, if there is any spell that's an item card that actually breaks the school identity of a school that it's on, that's actually pretty much all of them. Poseidon, it steals a shield into a hit. Even though Ice is a shield-based school, it's not a shield countering school like Myth or Fire. Cronus, for some reason, it's like a single hit that basically does what old Earthquake does. Again, it removes every blade, but Myth is not an anti-blade school. Wrath of Aquila runs into a weird issue. It makes sense as a balance spell that it hits with a bunch of different schools, but it's very high DPP in its current version. It would run into the exact same issues that Scales of Destiny, for example, ran into, and they had to ban the top path of it. Wrath of Hades is an overtime. Death is not an overtime school. Wrath of Ares is a hit and detonate. It is borderline unusable because of how small the damage is, and since the detonate at the moment doesn't even add to the dot, I feel like that's just something that they're gonna have to redo regardless. I think Wrath of Apollo is something that actually pulls off of Life's identity, but I would assume that the bottom path if it were to be useful in PvP, would have to be a lot better because I've just never seen this spell get a lot of use. And Wrath of Zeus, probably a very close to what I think they'll end up doing with this. I think it's going to become a hit and aura instead of a hit and bubble to align more with the direction that they're pushing Storm into, which is an aura-based school, not a bubble-based school. Right? All of these, we're probably going to be seeing them, like, you know, tamper with them a little bit, especially for the bottom pat that's PvP allowed. But I think the top pat, they go crazy with it. Maybe they could keep popular ideas that they, you know, like maybe old Hades or old Cronus. I feel like those are popular enough that maybe you could just keep those. So logistically, as long as they're open to, like, you know, making multiple pats, I think adding this as a spellament, upgradable, trainable spell, I think it could really work. Now, the real question that I think should be on everybody's mind is, right, just like every spellament that they ever add, how are we gonna get these spellaments? I think they could handle this in multiple ways. One, they could add it as a gold key boss. This could just be, you know, because they're adding challenge mode to Aquila, maybe they'll add a gold key boss that drops all of these. It's weird, but if y'all have never done Aquila, there's actually not one, but 3 different side bosses in each of these dungeons. Since Aquila already has a gold key boss that drops things like Athena, Hephaestus, Queen Calypso, I could see them adding a different drop source as a result of the fact that there's already an Aquila key boss using those side bosses. They could add cantrip chests to Aquila, although it's a pretty small area, so I'm not a 1,000,000,000% sure how that would work. And let's not forget, when they added a bunch of shads and made them give spellaments, when they did that, they never actually added a way to farm spellaments specifically from either Caramel or Lemuria. So those, especially if you're a max level, you're really not able to use cantrips as a way to get those spells. So who knows about the cantrip chest situation? I think that since this is like a whole new set of spells and we've seen older spells not get cantrips added to them, I think that's actually kind of unlikely. The remaining possibility is a one that I'm most curious about. We could very much see them exclusively drop spellaments for doing challenge mode forms of Aquila. So if y'all missed the video, I highly recommend watching it from a couple of days ago. When they teased that they were revamping Aquila, what the teaser was a red Aquila sigil. And that basically means that there's going to be a way to switch the sigil to challenge mode and farm it in a much harder way. It could very much be that their main incentive for doing challenge mode for the first time ever is learning new spells. If they add that, it could open the floodgates for a lot of things, right? Because this is challenge mode. It is advanced content. You could be seeing them make more steps towards adding spells as possible rewards for things like PvP or raid. Now, that would have to be handled very carefully. I think a lot of people can agree. Not everyone wants to raid. Not everyone wants to PvP. And I know a lot of people are looking at me, a guy that uploads PvP content regularly. Why would you say such a thing? As much as I want to feel rewarded for PvP, I don't want people to feel like they need to PvP in order to get rewards. I think that's a very important point. They're really getting close to that territory if they consider adding challenge mode, adding all of these iconic spells that people have wanted for a while, and making that the one way to get these spellaments, if the spellaments are going to be the main way to do this. There is only one major takeaway from the spoiler until test run drops and we know more details. This is a very different type of summer update. They're experimenting with how accessible they're going to be making raids. They're revisiting some very iconic dungeons that have a lot of legacy behind them. They are taking big bets right now. I don't know if it'll pay off. It's got me excited for the time being. I don't know about y'all, but let me know what y'all think about the teaser. What new Aquila spells would y'all like to see in terms of utility for your school? And do you guys think there's just going to be regular 9-pip spells? Do you guys think they're going to be 9-pip spells, but 2 of the pips is a school pip? And what do you guys think they're going to do in terms of the drop source if this is a spellament type of thing? There's a lot to talk about here, y'all, so let me know y'all's thoughts in the comments. Drop a like if you enjoyed, leave a sub if you're new, and as always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.